The trade station floated silently in orbit around a dying moon. Lights flickered across its metallic hull, reflecting the dim sun struggling to pierce the dust and debris in space. Inside the station, alarms blared as the structure shuddered under stress. Sirens screamed, warning of collapse. Somewhere in the chaos, a human clung to a railing, dust covering their face, blood streaking their clothes, but their eyes were sharp and alert. Galactic rescue teams were already on their way, dispatched by the Union's Central Command. The crew that arrived was composed of elite medical specialists from multiple species, each considered among the finest in the galaxy. Their ship docked with precision, magnetic locks clanging as airlocks hissed. Inside, the alien doctors prepared for the scene. Their scans painted horrifying pictures of the interior, twisted metal, scattered cargo, and faint heat signatures. They detected a single life form, weak and vulnerable, or so they thought. When they finally reached the human, the team paused. The creature before them was breathing heavily but moving steadily, almost calmly amidst the chaos. It looked like it had been through a massacre and lived. One of the smaller aliens, a thin, blue-skinned being with 4 eyes, leaned over the scanner. Life signs are minimal, it said. Extensive trauma, likely beyond survival. The human raised a hand. "Hey," they said in a hoarse voice. "You guys here to help, or are we just staring at each other?" The aliens froze. This species, this fragile species, spoke lightly while their bodies were barely intact. The human was moved carefully onto the medical platform aboard the rescue ship. Their body had multiple bruises, cuts, and abrasions, but the scans revealed something much more alarming. 17 broken bones, including ribs, arms, and a fractured leg. There were internal injuries as well, though nothing immediately fatal. The lead doctor, a tall being with chitinous plates and 6 arms, tapped at the console nervously. "This species should not be alive," it said. Its voice trembled slightly, betraying fear. "Even 5 fractures would be catastrophic. 17, this is impossible." The human raised an eyebrow. 17, huh? Oh, that's all." Their voice was calm, almost bored, as if listing broken bones was like reporting the weather. The room went silent. Every doctor froze, their multiple limbs and eyes scanning the data again and again. Did it just say that's all?" whispered one of the assistants. "Yes," replied the lead. I think it did." The human propped themselves slightly, testing their injuries. A leg throbbed, an arm ached, but they shifted their weight without collapsing. "I've had worse," they muttered. "This is nothing. Just tell me when I can walk again." The aliens had never seen anything like this. Pain usually caused panic or unconsciousness in most species. Humans, they seemed to ignore it. Hours passed as the doctors tried to stabilize the human. Every procedure they attempted revealed strange anomalies. Pain signals were weaker than expected. Healing rates were unpredictable. The human asked questions about alien tools and seemed fascinated by the complexity of the machinery rather than alarmed by the situation. One of the younger doctors finally asked, hesitant, How is it possible that your species survives this? You should be dead." The human shrugged. "We just are. We get hurt. We fix it. Life goes on. You know, that kind of thing." The aliens exchanged worried glances. Their scientific databases had no explanation. Every record of human physiology they could access showed extreme vulnerability. Yet here was a live human, conscious and sarcastic, with 17 broken bones. "You are anomalous," the lead doctor admitted. "Even for your species, this is remarkable." The human chuckled softly. "Anomalous, huh? I'll take it. I like being special." As the hours became days, the medical team monitored the human. Each test brought more surprises. Their bones, while broken, were aligned in strange ways that allowed partial mobility. Muscles and tendons contracted in ways that minimized strain on injuries. Even internal bleeding stabilized without intervention in some areas. The human asked repeatedly about meals, hygiene, and recreational activities. They refused sedation and walked short distances on the medical platform, moving slower but steadily. "I'll be fine," they said. "Just let me move. Sitting here all day makes everything worse." The doctors documented every detail. Union medical databases were updated. Internal memos described humans as pain-tolerant, high recovery, and psychologically resilient to extreme trauma. Notes repeated a single warning: do not underestimate humans. Meanwhile, outside the medical bay, rumors spread quickly among other species in the Union. A human survived what should have been a lethal disaster. A human with 17 broken bones was still conscious, mobile, and calm. In cafeterias, training rooms, and command centers, other aliens whispered, "What is wrong with them? That's your thing, not mine." By the third day, the doctors realized they needed a new approach. Standard medical procedures were failing. Pain management protocols were useless. Immobilization only frustrated the human. Traditional healing techniques were slower than the human's natural recovery. The lead doctor made a decision. "We will observe and assist minimally," it said. "Let nature, human nature, take its course. Document everything. Nothing in our records predicts what will happen next." The human laughed. "You're scared of me, aren't you?" "Scared?" asked the doctor almost mechanically. "No, cautious." "Yeah, cautious," the human replied with a grin. "I get that a lot." By the end of the first week, the human could stand fully, albeit with a limp. Broken arms were partially functional, and fractures in the ribs no longer caused sharp pain during breathing. The medical team noted that the human endured every procedure and movement without complaint. During one examination, the lead doctor asked, "Tell me, why are you not afraid of death or injury?" The human paused, thinking for a moment. "Fear is useful sometimes, but I've learned it doesn't help much when things actually break. You fix, you move, you survive. That's all there is to it. Worrying doesn't make bones heal faster." The alien's 6 arms froze in place. Logic circuits whirred. Psychological data analyzed. Nothing in the Union's archives came close to explaining this. The human noticed the pause and smiled faintly. "It's okay. You'll catch up eventually. Don't worry." At the close of Part 1, the human is fully conscious, moving with difficulty but determination, and has established a presence of calm and strength that the alien doctors do not understand. The doctors realize 2 things. Humans are far stronger and more resilient than any previous data suggests. They may have underestimated the entire species. As the human looks out the viewport at the collapsed trade station, dust drifting in orbit, they simply mutter to themselves, "17 broken bones, oh, that's all." And somewhere in the depths of the Galactic Union, an unspoken fear begins to grow. If one human is like this, what are they capable of at full strength? The human was no longer just a patient. They had become a puzzle, a riddle that the alien doctors could not solve. Every observation challenged what the Union thought they knew about resilience, healing, and the limits of life itself. In the medical bay, the human sat cross-legged on a reinforced platform, lightly bandaged but moving carefully. One arm was supported and the leg still carried a limp. Yet their eyes were alert, scanning the room, curious about every device and panel. They leaned slightly toward a hovering med-droid. "How do these things work?" the human asked, gesturing to the floating machine that measured vitals. "You know, the lights, the screens, the noises. Do they just make it feel like you're doing something important?" The med-droid beeped politely and delivered readings, ignoring the sarcasm. The human chuckled softly, their voice carrying a confidence that unsettled the alien doctors. They were meant to be terrified, in pain, helpless. Yet here they were, studying medical instruments while 17 bones healed themselves. By the second day, the doctors started noticing something remarkable. The human refused painkillers. When one of the 4-eyed assistants offered a sedative to ease stress, the human shook their head. No, thanks. I feel better moving than lying still. Sitting around just makes the pain worse. I've been through worse. The doctor frowned. You feel better while injured. That is illogical. Pain signals should incapacitate you. Your body should shut down. This is abnormal. The human shrugged. Yeah, it's called being human. We adapt. We survive. We don't wait for things to heal themselves before we move on. That's just stupid. The alien scribbled furiously, analyzing data. They pulled up the human's past medical history. Records of previous accidents, crashes, and injuries were filled with instances that would have killed almost every other species. Every entry ended the same way: recovery. Full or partial, it didn't matter. The human always returned to full function. It was not luck, it was design. Outside the medical bay, the story had begun to spread. Word traveled fast among Union species. Humans were not supposed to be remarkable. The Union had catalogued them as fragile and easy to contain. But now, an injured human had survived what should have been a lethal disaster, and they were thriving. In military analysis rooms, command officers whispered. Screens displayed simulations of the human's injuries and expected outcomes based on all known species data. The results were shocking. In every scenario, the human should have perished. But they had lived, and more terrifyingly, they continued to function as if nothing was wrong. One alien officer, a tall and spindly creature with a mouth lined with sharp teeth, muttered under its breath, "If one is like this, what is a whole army capable of?" Another replied, a low growl in its throat, "Don't even think about it. They're fragile, that's what we've always believed." Yet the unease spread like wildfire. Humans were unpredictable, uncontrollable, a species that refused to be weak. Back in the medical bay, the human strength was evident in simple actions. They lifted a light console to adjust a scanner. Their movements were careful but forceful. They sat upright for hours without fatigue. They even joked with the doctors, teasing the lead about their complex instruments. "You guys are good," the human said. "Seriously, but maybe a little too worried about me. I'm fine. Really, just keep doing your thing." The lead doctor, still processing the situation, responded slowly. You do not seem afraid. You do not panic. Even with 17 fractures, your mind remains steady. This is unprecedented." The human smiled faintly. "You think that's strange? On my planet, pain and danger are just part of life. You get used to it. Fear slows you down. We don't have time for that." A younger alien, a nurse with translucent skin, shook her head. "But 17 bones, that is extreme. Any other species would be dead," the human interrupted casually. "Yep, that's why I'm alive, not them. Big surprise, huh?" The human's recovery process was as unusual as their resilience. Broken bones healed faster than expected. Tendons and muscles strengthened under minimal medical intervention. Even minor internal bleeding stabilized, almost on its own. The alien doctors watched, amazed, as their most advanced medical technology seemed almost redundant. They began careful experiments, testing limits without harming the patient. Sensors measured heart rate, stress response, and pain tolerance. Observations revealed extraordinary endurance. Even when asked to perform physical tasks, lifting light weights, walking, or simple climbing exercises, the human performed better than many fully healthy aliens. Pain was acknowledged but never debilitating. The head doctor recorded a chilling note. "Human biology is designed to continue functioning under extreme trauma. Conventional medical protocols are insufficient to predict survival outcomes. Their species may be fundamentally misunderstood." The tension in the Union began to rise. Reports of the human's recovery reached military and scientific councils. Strategic simulations considered the implications. If a single human could endure what most species could not, then entire human populations could be underestimated in conflicts. In one council meeting, an alien admiral spoke, voice low but intense. We thought humans were fragile, but this changes everything. We cannot trust any previous data. One human could survive where an entire battalion of our species would fail. Another member, a scientist with a head full of fractal eyes, added, "It's not just survival. It's the willpower, the psychology. They do not quit. They do not fear pain as we understand it. We must reconsider their classification in the Union." Fear, subtle but growing, was now part of the discussion. A species once dismissed as fragile could outlast, outfight, and outthink many others, even while wounded. Meanwhile, the human remained oblivious to the panic they caused. They trained gently, moving with care, listening to alien explanations about physiology and medical tools. "Fascinating," the human said one evening. "How much you know about everything except surviving it. I mean all these numbers, graphs, scans. You still don't know how to survive pain." The head doctor, 6 arms folded across its chest, felt a strange unease. The human was smiling, almost proud, while demonstrating abilities that could shake the foundation of interstellar strategy. "Do humans really think like this?" another doctor asked quietly. "Do they not fear dying?" The lead shook its armored head. "Not like we do. Fear slows them. They accept risk, injury, death, but they act anyway. That is dangerous." The human's comments were casual, almost joking, but carried a lesson. "You're worried about me," they said, "because you think I'm fragile, but that's your mistake. Fragile things die fast. Humans, we heal, we endure, we adapt. You think 17 broken bones scare me. You should try 27. The doctors exchanged uneasy glances. The Union's historical data was suddenly useless. For decades, they had cataloged human fragility. Now they realized that humans had been underestimated. Every assumption about pain, weakness, and recovery was being rewritten by one individual. Outside the med bay, aliens debated strategy. Commanders considered containment, military engagement, even research on human resilience. They were frightened not by aggression but by sheer endurance. "If one can survive this," muttered an officer, "then a population of them unstoppable." By the end of Part 2, the human could walk fully with minimal support. Broken bones remained in healing, but their willpower, calmness, and resilience had forced a fundamental shift in alien perception. The doctors now feared not for the human's life, but for the implications of what a human population could endure. The human stretched, testing limbs carefully. "Not bad, huh? I'll be fully back soon. You don't have to worry about me." And in the quiet observation room, the lead doctor murmured, almost to themselves, "If this is one human, then we have never understood their strength, not even close." Somewhere in the galaxy, the seeds of respect and fear were taking root. The Union had catalogued humans as weak. Now, one individual had redefined the entire species in a matter of days. The human, as always, remained oblivious. They simply wanted to recover, move, and continue. 17 broken bones, oh, that was just another day. The human had healed enough to move freely, though the bruises and bandages still clung to their body like faint reminders of pain. The alien doctors watched with a mixture of awe and fear. Their instruments recorded data that made little sense. The human's bones were mending faster than expected, muscles were regaining strength despite injuries, and every motion showed coordination and endurance far beyond their understanding. Union Command had decided that it was time for a demonstration. The human's recovery was no longer just a medical curiosity, it had become a strategic concern. If one human could endure 17 broken bones, how would a human fleet perform under extreme conditions? How would an entire population respond when faced with danger? The demonstration was set in a secure training facility aboard the Union medical cruiser. Alien observers from various species gathered, buzzing quietly with speculation and anxiety. The human entered the room casually, limping slightly but with a confident smile. "Ready?" they asked. The lead doctor hesitated. "Are you certain you want to do this?" The human shrugged. "I'm not asking permission. I'm just telling you what's going to happen." The first test was simple. The human was asked to lift a weighted bar, a task that should have been impossible for someone with multiple fractures. When the weight was attached, alien sensors predicted immediate failure. The human bent slightly, flexing arms and legs, and lifted the bar with slow precision. There was a faint wince, a slight pause, but the bar rose steadily. The room fell silent. The observer's instruments recorded heart rate, muscle stress, and bone density, all showing results that defied logic. One of the four-eyed assistants whispered, This should kill them." The human set the bar down gently. "I've lifted heavier things before breakfast," they said casually, as if weightlifting were part of their daily routine. Next came a mobility test. A low-gravity obstacle course was set up to simulate dangerous terrain. Alien engineers expected slow, cautious movement. Instead, the human ran, jumped, and balanced with remarkable precision. Broken ribs flexed with every breath, fractured legs bent awkwardly, yet each step was calculated and purposeful. Pain was acknowledged only as a minor nuisance, not a limitation. Observers whispered among themselves. How is this possible? They shouldn't even walk properly," a senior scientist replied. "It's not walking, it's endurance. Humans continue even when their bodies scream to stop. That is terrifying." The human completed the course in record time, barely slowing down. When asked how it felt, they said, "Like stretching after a nap, hurts a little but worth it." The turning point came during the endurance test. Aliens had set up a simulated disaster scenario, collapsing structures, shifting debris, and dangerous environmental hazards. Most species would freeze or retreat under such stress. The human walked calmly into the simulation. Debris fell around them. Sparks flew. Alarms blared. Yet the human did not panic. They navigated carefully, lifting fallen beams, stepping over molten patches, and helping smaller alien observers to safety when they stumbled. Every fracture and bruise was visible, but none slowed them in any meaningful way. The humans' movements were precise, their minds sharp. Every obstacle was met with calm calculation. The alien observers grew silent. One by one, they realized the truth. This was not luck. This was not chance. Humans were designed to endure, to survive, and to adapt under conditions that would destroy nearly any other species. After the demonstration, the lead doctor approached the human cautiously. "We underestimated your species," they admitted. We thought humans were fragile. "But your resilience, it is beyond comprehension." The human smiled faintly. "Fragile, that's funny. You might want to update your databases. Humans aren't fragile. We just keep going, that's all." The alien shook their head. "It's not just the injuries, it's the willpower. The psychology. You endure fear, pain, and death itself without hesitation. That is unprecedented." The human shrugged. "We don't have much choice. On my planet, life is hard. Danger is everywhere. You either keep going or you die. That's how we learn to survive." Word of the demonstration spread quickly through Union Command. Alien officers debated strategy in hushed tones. A single human had survived injuries that would have killed an entire platoon. They had navigated disaster scenarios with precision and calm. They had outperformed every expectation, every simulation. "Containment strategies must be revised," one officer said grimly. "One human could destabilize an entire operation." Another whispered, "Not just one. Imagine an army of them, an entire population. If this is what one can do, we are in serious trouble." Meanwhile, the human, oblivious to the strategic panic they had caused, leaned against a console, sipping a beverage. "You all look worried," they said casually. "Relax, I'm fine. Really. 17 broken bones, remember." The alien doctors continued to monitor recovery, noting subtle but extraordinary healing processes. Bones knit faster than expected, and muscles and tendons strengthened with minimal therapy. The human seemed to learn from each movement, adjusting posture, pressure, and angles to minimize pain and maximize efficiency. A young assistant whispered, "It's like their body knows what to do, even when damaged." The lead doctor nodded slowly. And their mind, that is the most dangerous part. Humans continue despite everything telling them to stop. That defies all logic. The human overheard the comment and smirked. "You'll catch up eventually. Maybe, or maybe not, doesn't matter. We survive anyway." The turning point was completed when the human requested a final test, a simulated zero-gravity rescue mission. Alien commanders were hesitant. Zero-gravity operations were difficult even for fully healthy species. The human's body was still healing. "Are you sure?" asked the lead doctor. "You're not fully recovered." The human shrugged. "Fully recovered is overrated. Let's do it." Inside the simulation chamber, the human floated among debris and shifting obstacles. Broken arms flexed awkwardly, bruised ribs shifted with every movement, yet their mind remained clear. They manipulated tools, repaired damaged panels, and assisted alien observers with precision. Pain was present, acknowledged only as a minor nuisance, but it never slowed them down. The observation deck fell silent. Every alien present realized the truth. Humans were not limited by injury the way other species were. Pain was not a stopping point, it was merely an inconvenience. After the mission, the human returned to the platform, breathing steadily. "Well," they said casually, "that wasn't too bad, could have been worse." The alien observers were stunned. They had witnessed something that changed their understanding of life, survival, and resilience. One whispered, "If one human is like this, an entire population could be unstoppable." The lead doctor finally said aloud, voice trembling slightly, "We have been fools. We underestimated humans entirely. They are not weak, they are terrifyingly strong." The human, as always, smiled faintly. "Terrifying, maybe. Strong, definitely. That's what humans do. We survive, we endure, we adapt. You're welcome for the demonstration." By the end of Part 3, the turning point was complete. The human had demonstrated not just survival, but exceptional endurance, intelligence, and adaptability under extreme conditions. The alien doctors and commanders were forced to reconsider everything they thought they knew about humanity. The galaxy, it seemed, had underestimated humans for centuries. One human had shattered all expectations. And somewhere deep in the Union's strategic databases, simulations were being rewritten. The human stretched, testing each limb carefully. Every bone, muscle, and tendon reminded them of the journey, but none slowed them down. They looked out the viewport at the stars beyond, casually noting, 17 broken bones, not bad, could be worse. Unseen by the human in the command rooms of the Union, alarms and alerts were quietly updated. Human threat level, unpredictable. Human potential, extreme. And in that moment, a quiet understanding spread among the observers. They were facing a species unlike any other, one that would redefine strength, endurance, and survival in the galaxy. The human had become more than just a patient or a case study. They were now a symbol of resilience, endurance, and adaptability that no alien species had ever truly comprehended. Union medical teams and commanders had gathered in anticipation. The earlier demonstrations had already shaken their confidence. Now it was time for the final evaluation. The human entered the observation chamber calmly, their gait steady despite lingering bruises and healing fractures. They carried themselves with quiet authority, unconcerned by the dozens of alien eyes and sensors tracking every movement. "Ready for the grand finale?" the lead doctor asked cautiously. The human smiled faintly. "Always." The first part of the evaluation was simple. Complete a complex obstacle course under extreme conditions, while simultaneously performing rescue operations. Aliens had set up scenarios that simulated zero-gravity collapses, sudden depressurization, and even environmental hazards like radiation leaks and molten surfaces. Observers expected hesitation, fear, or pain to slow the human down. Instead, the human moved with calculated precision, anticipating dangers before they occurred. Broken bones flexed and shifted, but every movement minimized further injury. Every step was deliberate. Every action accounted for consequences. When a collapsing beam threatened a hovering alien assistant, the human caught it, supporting both the beam and the alien's weight with a single arm. Pain flashed across their face for a fraction of a second, but the human never faltered. "Impossible," muttered one officer. "No species can endure this." "Apparently," whispered the lead doctor, "we were wrong." Next came a test of cognitive endurance. The human was asked to monitor multiple systems at once: air quality, structural integrity, power supply, and environmental hazards, all while performing the obstacle course. Aliens believed it would overwhelm them. Every other species failed under such multitasking. The human handled it effortlessly. They adjusted valves, stabilized pressure systems, and rerouted energy flows without pause. Every decision was fast, precise, and effective. Aliens scribbled notes, recalculated probabilities, and questioned centuries of assumptions. How is this possible?" asked a young assistant, voice trembling. The lead doctor shook their head slowly. "Humans, they do not recognize limits the way we do. Pain, fatigue, danger. They are merely conditions to adapt to, not reasons to stop." The human glanced over at them, smirking. "You're welcome for the demonstration." The final test was the most dramatic, a simulated structural collapse with multiple casualties needing extraction. Alien trainers expected hesitation, collapse under stress, or injury. The human ignored expectations entirely. They moved through falling debris, lifting heavy rubble, stabilizing injured observers, and calmly directing others. Every broken bone, every strain, every wound was acknowledged but never a hindrance. The human operated at peak efficiency, all while pain and danger surrounded them. By the end of the simulation, every alien observer had witnessed what no one had previously imagined. A human could endure physical and mental stress simultaneously in ways that defied logic. After the exercises, the human was finally allowed to rest. The lead doctor approached cautiously. We understand now. Your species is unlike any other. You survive, endure, and adapt in ways we cannot predict. You are remarkable." The human shrugged lightly. "Remarkable. Maybe we just do what we have to. Pain, injuries, danger, they're part of life. We accept it and we move on." The doctor hesitated. "But what you've done here is more than survival. It's exemplary. You are redefining what we thought was possible for a species. Entire strategies, doctrines, and simulations must be revised because of you." The human nodded. "Good, keep learning. Just don't forget, humans don't give up. We don't quit, and we always find a way." News of the human's feats spread throughout the Union. Reports filtered into command centers, research labs, and council chambers. Aliens debated, analyzed, and recalculated. If one human could endure this, what could an entire population do? Union leaders realized the implications were staggering. Humans were no longer just another species. They were a force of endurance and adaptability, a species that refused to be defined by weakness or injury. Military officers discussed strategies in quiet tones. "One human could survive where 10 of our soldiers would fail," said one officer. "Imagine an army." A council scientist added, "It's not just strength, it's resilience, intelligence, adaptability, and willpower. They defy our understanding of biology. We underestimated them for centuries." And somewhere in the back of the room, a senior strategist muttered, "We may have just discovered why humans survive wars we thought they could not." Meanwhile, the human, oblivious to the growing fear and respect around them, returned to simple routines: eating, cleaning, and walking through the ship. Every movement was deliberate but casual. Broken bones had healed further, and minor bruises faded daily. Their body and mind were recovering at a pace that amazed the alien doctors. One of the assistants finally asked, "Do humans fear anything?" The human paused, thinking for a moment. "Sure, pain, failure, loss, all that stuff, but we don't let it stop us. We don't let fear decide what we do. You can have fear, we just keep moving." The assistant looked thoughtful. "You are frightening." The human smiled faintly. "Depends on how you see it. I just call it survival." The final stage of Part 4 focused on official recognition. Union councils invited human medical consultants to demonstrate techniques, explain recovery methods, and show strategies that enabled resilience. The aliens were astounded. The humans explained: gradual exposure to pain, mental training for endurance, careful attention to recovery, and adaptation to environmental stressors. Everything the aliens thought they knew about survival was incomplete. A high-ranking alien diplomat admitted, "Your species is unique. We cannot fully understand it, but we respect it. You endure, you survive, and you adapt in ways no other species can. This changes everything." The human nodded. "Thanks. But don't forget, humans don't need respect. We survive anyway. You can try to catch up if you want." By the end of the evaluation, the human was officially discharged from the medical program. They walked freely, smiling, their bodies still showing traces of injury but clearly recovering. Alien doctors and observers could only watch in awe. One of the younger assistants whispered, "They're incredible. We will never forget this." The lead doctor, still processing everything, finally admitted aloud, "Humans do not avoid pain. They endure it, they survive it, and that makes them terrifyingly strong." The human, overhearing, grinned. "Terrifying, maybe. Strong, definitely. That's what humans do. We survive, we endure, and we adapt. You'll see more of it soon enough." As the human left the observation chamber, alien commanders and doctors watched silently. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries. They had assumed fragility, weakness, and predictability. One human had shattered every assumption. One human had redefined what it meant to endure, to survive, and to thrive. Union protocols were rewritten. Military strategies were revised. Medical databases were updated. Everywhere the humans' actions left a lasting impression. Humans were not just survivors. They were a species built to persist, to overcome, and to endure what no other species could. And somewhere in the quiet of the stars, the human muttered to themselves, almost absent-mindedly, "17 broken bones, oh, that's all." The galaxy paused, reconsidered, and slowly realized the truth. Humans do not give up. Humans endure. And humans, if underestimated, become unstoppable.